Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 19th July 2023. My name is T.S.V. Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Haribol TRSV Nectar NECTAR Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this blog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of what we have been doing in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my other videos. So let us continue with the topic for today. In our past few videos, we have been trying to analyze the psyche of a human living entity and how it works and what factors contribute to its total making. We know that it is an product of ingredients, namely prarabdha karma, that is the size of sanchit karma that particular living entity brings with him or her in a particular birth to work out, plus his or her kriyamana karma, which is based on his or her free will, plus his or her vibrations from his or her etheric senses, astral mind, and causal intelligence. Etheric senses are five in number. They are sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Plus, the astral mind is based on the feelings and emotions of a particular living entity. Plus, his or her logic is ruled by his or her causal intelligence. As per the preference, karma, tastes, whims, and fantasies of the brain of the gross body of that human living entity, vibrations from these three subtle bodies being etheric senses, astral mind, and causal internal are selected to be chewed upon, masticated, and bring out the juice from such vibration to be later transmitted to the rest of the body of that living entity. This juice, along with his or her prarabdha karma and kriyamana karma, plus his or her false ego of identifying with his or her body are the greatest contributors to the collective psyche of a human living entity. Nobody is an exception to this rule. We are all victimized by only this. There may be other factors too, but they are only subsidiary. The main one are these four. We have discussed about several case histories of various types where a particular human living entity's psyche and his or her life story has been thrashed out and completely analyzed to find out how and why it operated the way it did. We have already discussed about businessmen, science, then other people from other walks of life. Today we will talk about another such case history which will be a part of this particular video just like the case history of other people became a part of our previous videos immediately before. So let us continue with this particular story in this particular video. There is a place called Willy Wakam in the suburbs of Madras, which is now called Chennai in Tamil Nadu, India. This Villivakkam is in the outskirts of Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. In this particular locality lived one person who worked or who was employed as a constable in the Tamil Nadu police. This guy had his own house and property in Villivakkam where he lived with his family, including one girl called Nalini. These people lived in one house and they had another structure which could have been rented out to other people. Nalini was a normal girl who got educated and graduated, and she was waiting for a job or to get married. At that time, in the 90s or late 80s, one mysterious person came to their house and asked for this structure for rent for him and his people to be used as a residence and for doing some work there. This constable wanted to know who this guy was. This guy said that he is from Sri Lanka and he had relocated to Chennai in India for the time being. He also said that he and his associates will keep coming to this particular residential area if it is rented out to him to either live or to work here. This constable agreed for a lucrative rent to rent out this particular premises in his property. The people who started coming there were known as Shivarasan, Shubha, Per Arivalan, These people knew that these guys were members of the dreaded liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam that operated in Jaffna, Sri Lanka. However, they did not mind it because they were interested only in the money from the rent, which was quite substantial. The LTT people were quite generous in paying a good rent for these premises. Here they started a printing press besides having their own residential quarters there. People from LTT came and went in this premises. This Shubha was almost Nalini's age, and so the two became quite friendly. Initially, it was only formal relationship between all of them, but later, slowly but steadily, Shubha found a vulnerable and gullible target in Nalini. She began brainwashing Nalini. She gave a lot of cock and bull stories about the IPKF, that is Indian Peacekeeping Force from India, which operated in Sri Lanka and was at loggerheads with the LTT in Sri Lanka. Nalini drank up all the information. In that process, Shubha hinted to Nalini that this IPKF committed several atrocities in Sri Lanka, especially on women. Vulnerable as she was, Nalini was hurt to the quick when she came to know about this. Shubha found that she had hit a very soft target. Shubha hinted to Nalini that this was all caused by none other than the then Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, who had created this IPKF or Indian Peacekeeping Force. Much of all this was a lie, but Nalini was too naive to understand this. Now we will talk about Prarabdha Karma. Nalini's Prarabdha Karma was that she was born to a police constable who lived in Villivakkam and who worked as a constable in the police department of Tamil Nadu. Later, her own upbringing and her education was all her prarabdha karma. Her prarabdha karma included her becoming friendly with this mysterious Shubha. All this was because of Nalini's past karma that she was made to go through all this grind during her young age. These were things which were based on her past karma and her past sanchit unworked karma. So far, so good. But now, without realizing this, Nalini could know or could inadvertently be pushed towards applying her own free will to chart out or create her own destiny. Till now, Nalini was a vulnerable, gullible, harmless, normal girl. But the indoctrination by Shubha made her get so hurt and angry that she began changing without her own family or herself realizing this. When Nalini changed completely, probably she never could understand. But this bullet of a message from Shubha had begun doing its trick on Nalini. Slowly, Nalini had an animosity towards Rajiv Gandhi and the IPKF without her own realizing this fact. Shubha, who was a cunning militant, made the best use of it. Without realizing this, Nalini, who was an Indian by birth, became now a part of the Sri Lankan militant organization called Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. Now, what happened was Shubha, Shivarasan, and the LTT were plotting to commit a very ghastly crime in India by assassinating Rajiv Gandhi. When the fruit was ripe, they plucked it for their own use. Now they had an Indian in their bag, and that Indian was none other than Nalini. The Kriyamana karma of Nalini slowly but steadily pushed her towards a route or a passage from where it was no turning back for this gullible girl. She began cooperating with these militants who were already preparing to commit one deadly crime. Nalini helped these militants with her own experience and her own resources to bring material necessary to commit this dastardly act. And later on, when Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated, Nalini was taken as one of the prime accused in that particular crime. Nalini tried to wriggle out of this situation, but by that time she had already married one of those terrorists called Mukundan, Murugan or Saravanan. Nalini, along with the accused, except Shivarasan and Shubha and some others who had already committed suicide, was tried in the Indian Tada court in Tamil Nadu and was sentenced to death. But later on, because she was pregnant, she, along with others, was sentenced to life imprisonment in the Vellore Central Prison in Tamil Nadu. Here, this woman, thanks to her own Kriyamana karma based on her free will, had to spend at least 30 years. She and her husband Murugan had to languish in the prison while their own daughter, born out of their wedlock, was raised by Nalini's family and later made to relocate to England where she studied and is probably settled down there either professionally or in the family way. Nalini had all the time to regret her decision to use her own Kriyamana karma in such a negative fashion. If she had not been so hurt, angry, and seething with a wish to wreak vengeance on Rajiv Gandhi, she could have lived a normal life like any other Tamil Nadu girl. But this was not to be. Nalini became a notorious convict and she made her own family infamous. Her nice constable father has already expired. This man must have regretted the day this girl was born in their family. This shows how Kriyamana karma of a particular person works when he or she decides to use his or her free will. This free will may be used positively or negatively, but Nalini decided to use it negatively. We must take a leaf out of the life of this Nalini and we must remember that we should always try to use our free will in a positive fashion because when we have some unworked Kriyamana karma left in our own lifetime, it could be used positively through our Sanchit karma to be selected as a slice of Prarabdha karma for our future life. In that case, thanks to our positive contribution to the society, our future lives may become far better than what they are now. We must try to be as positive materialistic as we could become spiritually too. It is the best course of action to be positive both materialistically and spiritually so that we become more and more spiritualized and become self realized, finally get liberated from this repeated cycle of birth and death and get delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular matter. Please give me your own expert opinions, thoughts, and ideas so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Kindly tell me if what I have talked about in this particular case history is beneficial to the viewers of this particular video and whether it can be used to improve the sight of everyone in the society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.